All right, so carnitine, what is it? What is it good for? Is it going to help with fat loss? Is it going to help with muscle building? Is it going to help with sexual hormones? How much do I take? Is it good for cognitive function? Is it good for mood stabilization? How much do I take orally? How much do I take through injection? Should I seek a doctor at a wellness clinic for IV, for intravenous? So I'm going to let you know this is going to be a product review for a company called Amino Asylum, and I am taking 600 milligrams of the carnitine is what I'm taking now, and that is injectable form, not oral form, and I use a insulin pen, and it goes up to 1 cc. So 1 cc would be 600 milligrams. I first started off at 200 milligrams, 400 milligrams, and 600 milligrams, titrating up every week. 600 milligrams, a little bit aggressive for the effects of the carnitine, as far as increasing temperature and thermogenesis, increasing metabolism. So I didn't like the effects of 600 milligrams, so I backed it down to 200 milligrams, as maybe because my saturation levels for carnitine have already been reached, and I don't really want to go beyond that because taking it for too long and a high saturation point, there may be studies out there showing supportive evidence that it might not be so good for the thyroid. But let me get into that just a second. So I'll show you my screen right now, share you where I usually get the information. That's at examine.com, right? So examine.com, it's going to list everything that we would like to know about L-carnitine coming from journals that with supporting evidence to agree or disagree with carnitine usage. So carnitine and in many forms are useful in diseases as well as depression, metabolic health, and potentially many other things. L-carnitine is often used for fat loss, but its usefulness is questionable. So fat loss is primarily the reason why a lot of people take it, right? So that's what I wanted to know about fat loss, and that's what I wanted to know about depression, since I do suffer from depression and I don't like to take the medications. Buspirone is usually what I take, I do take another one, can't remember the name right now, but it was recommended by Leo Longevity. Sodium valproate, yeah, so that's the other one. But I am getting off of them, so I do use HRT to help with mood stabilization and for depression. It's the first reason why I was put onto it, because of my non-existing levels of testosterone and also estrogen. So I use the carnitine, so from Amino Asylum, right? So 600 milligrams. Again, this is what I use. So primarily, we believe from supporting evidence now that carnitine may help with kind of like regulating the thyroid, right? So we want some carnitine at a good saturation point to help with thyroid production, help with T3, help with moderating T4 and TSH at a healthy level to amplify its effects in fat loss. So it does that through beta oxidation. So the burning of fats through through breath, right? Through this carbon dioxide exchange. Also with performance in the gym for muscular endurance, muscular synthesis, the protein synthesis, and also with the hormone stabilization for making your androgens more receptive, right? So androgens are what we like to have to be receptive, because that's going to be usually what dictates like how well our testosterone works. So we would have better usage of our free testosterone. Okay, so help build muscle, help to stabilize mood, help to increase overall testosterone at a healthy saturation point in our body, or at a healthy serum level. So my experience with the carnitine, I stay fairly lean year round. I am usually around like 10% body fats, abs usually visible, as you can see. I'm not the bulk, the bulking type. I'd rather try to maintain, so just kind of eat in a slight calorie surplus if I want to gain weight or increase performance. But I do like to play around with some of the fat loss agents because I want to see, hey, does it actually work? Does it actually increase your metabolism? And I can kind of play around that and have a better anecdotal evidence, because I do keep my diet very regimented into where I know what I'm eating. I know how many calories I'm roughly, and I know what my macronutrients are on a day-to-day basis. And I can use that with my training program to see how well I'm doing. So carnitine, we know that the oral version of carnitine, it is not so bioavailable, which means that you're not really going to be able to use much of it, which is why we dose it really high. So you're like, hey, Andrew, why do I see carnitine sold in vitamin stores at 3,000 milligrams? Well, that's because usually the bioavailability of oral carnitine, L-carnitine in general, is going to be around 6 to 10%, depending on the form of carnitine. Okay, the injectable, I would say it's going to be 90 and up, because if you're putting it right into your body, I would assume intramuscular, it's going to be quick in, a little bit quicker out, more for performance based. If I want to like have that energy production within the gym or before cardio, or you can use it subcutaneous as be a longer metabolism for your body to use the carnitine. And that's what I like to try to help with spot reduction. And I know a lot of people don't believe in spot reduction, but I believe carnitine with some other supplements, which I'll get into in my next video, then you can see some better results in those troubleshoot areas when you, these are going to be injectable forms when you put them subcutaneous, okay? So if you are in the competitive level to where you just really need to lose that extra small amount of body fat, or if you're just really having trouble and you're stuck at a specific point and it's really mentally damaging because you have body dysmorphia, or you've been working so hard and you have not reached the point that you expect, right? So a lot of hard work, a lot of time, and after you put in that time and dedication and discipline, some of these can yield some better results for you. And again, they're going to be more evidence-based and more supportive evidence and anecdotal evidence for person and journals. So carnitine, I do believe it's going to be great for fat loss. I love it in general. It helps to release stored body fat. So it helps to free fatty acids to be used as energy production. So the way that we do that is we are in a calorie deficit. So we need to be in some sort of deficit, and typically works really well when you are doing some diet that manipulates how much carbs you get in each day. So it might vary, what they call carb cycling. So maybe a low carb day, followed by a moderate carb day, followed by a low carb day, followed by a high carb day, followed by a low carb day, and etc. So you get that, right? So it can help to regulate some of those like metabolic energy levels and sources in your body. So that's what I do. So what does this mean for you? I do suggest starting with oral carnitine, and what I would do is probably 3,000 milligrams for someone who is around 180 pounds and more. And I would do that in a fasted state. If you have a good amount of body fat on you, and doing it before physical activity, alongside with a calorie deficit of probably 300 calories per day, right? So eating 300 calories less per day. And that can come from either fats, or it can come from carbohydrates, whatever your day is upon. Usually not limiting protein, like my other videos that I made about diets, right? So if you're a lean person, so if you have, if you're kind of like me, a little bit leaner, 10% body fat, 12% body fat, carbohydrates in use with carnitine shows to enhance performance as well as thermogenesis. So it can be used to shuttle in nutrients into your muscles, and it can give you better pumps in the gym. It can give you better metabolic rates. It can help regulate your thyroid from being too low, because sometimes low body fat plus dieting, you see a crash in your thyroid. So you might get your thyroid test and your T3 is a little bit lower and your TSH is a little bit higher and your T4 is a little higher. So this can help regulate that during performance. You can take a carbohydrate before your workout or during your workout, whichever you prefer, probably around 10 to 20 grams. Talk about that in another video about how to use carbohydrates. And so that's for fat loss, okay? Carnitine, I've also seen other great results in cognitive function, because carnitine, acetyl L-carnitine, it's acetyl group, can pass through the blood-brain barrier a little bit easier, and it can be used more as energy for thinking, for tasking, and less mental fatigue. It can also help with reducing the depression rate, again, helping with your iron levels, and helping with the B12 and iron, vitamin C, give you more energy production that way, boost the mood, has a better, like, I guess how I can explain it is like a stabilizing effect. So you don't have these peaks and lows of mood. So I would say less of like a catecholamine dump. So that's just, that can mean like too much adrenaline, norepinephrine, and dopamine could be too high, elevated chronically too much, and you have too many catecholamines, and they can hopefully bring it down. The only thing that research shows that it may be at risk is increasing TMAO, and TMAO, it helps to regulate your gut bacteria, but too high levels can also, it shows supportive evidence that it may lead to cardiovascular disease, and we wouldn't want to have chronically high TMAO. If you want to combat that, you can take what's called PQQ, and it seems to help with reducing some TMAO in the body and within the gut. So that's about it about carnitine fat loss agent. I believe that works very, very well. If you have any questions about it, about where Amino Asylum is, and if you don't want to do injectable, which I don't always recommend everyone doing injectable, especially when they're younger. So if you're younger, if you're in high school and you don't eat a lot of red meats, oh, that's the other thing. So if you are a vegan, you might want to get a carnitine source, because carnitine will be found in meats. So red meat is going to be very high saturation. And if you're not eating a lot of red meat throughout the week, at least 5 days out of the week, I'd say your carnitine levels might be depleted, especially if you're an athlete or you're avid gym goer and you are trying to lose body fat or build muscle or have a higher testosterone level as a man, but if you want to have a better erection, these are things that you're going to have to consider. And so maybe increasing the lean red meat or taking supplemental carnitine to increase your levels. So you would benefit from this. Teenagers who do have a poor diet and they are athletes, I would say oral carnitine is going to be best, anywhere between 1,500 to 3,000 milligrams, depending on body size. You wouldn't need to do it every day for the entire life. I would just monitor how your urine smells. If your urine starts to smell kind of like sewage, that would be trimethylamine effect. So that's kind of like your liver has like a polymorphism to where it converts the carnitine, and the waste has this weird smell to it. I have that, which is why I like the injectable. I don't get that. So if you have that effect with the oral, taking too much of it, your body might be wasting a lot, because it is, again, not only absorbing like 10%. So this is a route to go. It's safe if you're doing it correctly. Injection sites, always alcohol swabs to sanitize the area. So leaving it there. Like, share, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Share this to other people who are like, hey, I have some stubborn body fat and I need to reduce it. All right, that's about it. I'll be back with another video to show you what to pair with the L-carnitine.